Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery, it's my pleasure to be with you this Wednesday morning. We get together with our distribution partners most weekday mornings at this time, 8 o'clock Central. We spend a few minutes together sharing strategies, success stories, tactics, tips, resources. We're here to support each of you. You are if you're on this webinar, whether be live or listening to the recording, most likely you are either a regional vice president or a white label partner. Our regional vice presidents compose our leadership team. We aspire to have one RVP, one regional vice president per state across the country, and they're building out the distribution system so we can help more small businesses. And then our white label partners are really the front line. They're interfacing with small businesses and helping them fulfill our mission, which is built around 3 items: increasing financial literacy, which we'll be talking more about today. Secondly, building lender compliant loan packages. And thirdly, to help small businesses become credible enough that they can get the funding that they want, that they need, that they deserve. So in terms of financial literacy, we're going to revisit, this isn't new information, but it may be new for some of you that have joined us more recently. We're going to talk about financial literacy and how you and I can take financial literacy out to the masses. And that's good because that's part of our mission, but also it's a great funnel builder for you to bring more clients in to assist them in their capital raise. I certainly know that as we've been around for a number of years, our approach to financial literacy in terms of in-person education has evolved. And part of it is based upon what has worked and what hasn't. And also it has evolved based upon the whole COVID pandemic, social isolation constraints. But as of now, there's really 2 types of primary financial literacy in person that we support. One of which is getting groups, which isn't what you see here. So what we're talking about on the screen will be the second, which we'll get to in a moment. But one of which is conducting full-day workshops to build out the loan package, and it's incredible. The last one was scheduled this past Saturday in Detroit. We've had them across the country, and that's where we would work with you, have a full day event. Individuals come in and we literally build their loan package during the course of the day. We're building a loan package out that's suitable for an SBA Express loan up to $150,000. And literally before we leave that afternoon, we are submitting their application in for the SBA loan. That is not a free event. It is not a free event. Those individuals are technically enrolling in the SBA Express program, but instead of completing the loan package remotely, virtually, we're doing it literally in person during the course of that day. We need a minimum of 10 people for that class to make. So that is an option if you would like. It's not our topic today. Our topic today is instead what you see on the screen, should be shared on the screen, which is the 27 mistake curriculum. This has become somewhat the bedrock of our programming. We start each client that enrolls with this curriculum, and it can also be used to reach out to prospects. So this is what we're going to talk about today for a few minutes. This is very well suited to take to libraries, chambers, churches, community organizations. Yes, you could certainly teach it online, live or on demand, which we have this on demand, as you probably know. But I think the most effective way to improve financial literacy, as well as to convert from financial literacy participants into program participants, would be to get in front of them. So am I saying that every one of you needs to go out and teach this in person in your community? No. Are all of you welcome to, encouraged to, supported to? Absolutely. So I just need you to know that this is an option. This is one of the best ways to generate leads for your program, for your participation. I have had great success going in. Let's just use libraries as an example. And so getting the head librarian, the reference librarian often, to provide you the room. They can put this curriculum on their calendar. Often the library then can promote it extensively out to library members through the city calendar system and so forth. And you could very well end up with 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 participants. And we've seen it work really well. Best time slot we've seen would be Saturday mornings around 10, 10:30. But again, I would just encourage you to talk to the host, because if you're going to teach this live, you want a host. A host is defined as a key influencer, like the library or librarian, that can provide the space, the physical space, preferably with AV equipment, as well as the sphere of influence over a group of people to invite. So you could work through a church. The pastor or the faith-based leader could allow you to use their venue and then could help promote it out. You can see the example there. So let's briefly go through this curriculum, which should be shared on your screen. And the concept here is to help people become more familiar with what it means to have a credible business, to see it through the eyes or the lenses of the lender or the extender of credit, not to give them some mandatory checklist. Here's 27 things, and if you don't do all 27, you can't get funding, because that's not true. That's not what we're trying to convey. But what we do want to do is increase their awareness, their understanding, their financial literacy of these different elements that affect how credible they and their business look. So if you've not gone through this on your own, you certainly can. We're just going to go through it quickly. And the key is to not scare people off, because there are 27 items that we're discussing here. It's not all or nothing, and many of them that they might not have, you and I can help address. So let's go through this briefly. So, and I'll mention, if you're a white label partner, you have had access to this all along. So if you go to your white label Dropbox from the moment, by design, you can prove me wrong, I guess, in some cases, but by design, from the time that you became a white label partner, we provided you a white label Dropbox, and this, in editable format, has been in your Dropbox. So you have access to this. So in addition to the title screen, funding guide, 27 mistakes that will get you denied for business credit and loans, and understand how we can help you access capital. So typically, if you're teaching this curriculum, it shouldn't feel like a sales pitch. It should be educational. Then afterwards, you can follow up with each individual, better understand their needs, and then sign them up. For instance, if you're going to a library, the last thing in the world that the library is going to allow to happen is some sort of infomercial. This is not designed that way. This is educational, but then you want to convert the leads, the attendees, into clients, but not at the time of the event. So in other words, you would want to schedule a consult with them afterwards to address their individual circumstances and get them enrolled, most often in the Access to Capital program. Why the Access to Capital program? Because it's the best fit for most small businesses. There's no upfront cost. It's essentially a free program. There's no upfront cost. There's no risk to the client. There's a guaranteed capital raise. They are guaranteed in writing a minimum of $100,000, and some of you are making it $250,000. So the next step would be enrollment, but we need to approach the educational section and keep it pure and make it educational, not sales oriented. All right, so first slide after the title, of course, we talk about why this matters. We help them understand that lenders and credit issuers will often automatically decline you based upon not meeting their approval standards. I mean, right here in this first bullet, if someone got up and walked out of your workshop after this first slide, I know it was technically slide 2, but slide 1 was title slide, this first slide of content, and if all they took away from it is, oh, there's different sources of capital and each have their own underwriting criteria, you succeeded, because that overcomes one of the biggest barriers to getting clients to enroll is they think it's all or nothing. Oh, I won't qualify. Well, you won't qualify for what? Why wouldn't you qualify? Maybe you're looking at the wrong source or sources of funding. And of course, you and I can help them improve their credibility. But we move on. We help them understand that there's a formula that they need to meet for approval. And if they do meet it, they'll often get an automatic approval or declined if they don't. And again, not all sources of capital, all types of capital have the same requirements. So again, you have to slow down sometimes. You know so much. You're at the far right-hand side of this intellectual curve. And most of the clients you work with are not as sophisticated. They're not as financially literate as you. So sometimes you have to step back and cover the basics so they realize this, that it's not, oh, I can't get approved. Well, you can't get approved for what? We have to find the right type of capital based upon your mitigating circumstances. And if they need help becoming credible on paper, we can do that. And that's what's reiterated here. So then we get into the mistakes, and I don't need to go through these one by one for a couple reasons. Hopefully you've gone through this yourself, and if not, you certainly can. There's an on-demand YouTube version. But what we're doing is going through good information to help small businesses understand things that make them look more credible. So in terms of business name mismatches, not being in good standing with Secretary of State, the risk of their industry, the type of entity. And I see so many people go form LLCs. And if you're like me, you want to bang your head when you see people form an LLC instead of a corporation. But regardless, having an EIN, having a true unique commercial address, and of course you and I can provide them that, and you can monetize that, having a business phone number, having website email. So many small businesses that they look like novices. They're using Gmail or Hotmail or American Online, MSN, and it's like that is not credible. That is not credible for your business to operate off of a consumer grade email. So we teach them about that. Again, we're not judging them. I had a couple consultations already with clients this morning before this webinar now. And I just make it real clear. Yeah, I'm on your side. I love you. I care about you. But we're going to have some straight talk about some things that you're doing that is impacting your credibility. And in this case, the lady was using a consumer grade email. She wasn't receiving our emails. So that was a problem. But it's I guess you can describe it as tough love. We're not here to make people unhappy or uncomfortable, but we owe them the truth. And the truth is operating your business off of some shit email account does not make you look credible. Having a business bank account is important, of course. License depends upon your business if that's necessary. Getting set up properly with the business credit reporting agencies. Having inadequate business credit scores. Again, this is another example of something that you know, most likely, but a lot of entrepreneurs don't. So for example, if you do nothing, if you form a business and you do nothing, what will your business credit scores look like? Will they just be non-applicable, non-existent? No, they'll look crappy. They'll look horrible, right? Experian and IntelliScore will give you a score normally 27, 28, 29 out of a 0 to 100 scale. It's like a failing score. And you're like, well, that's unfair. I did nothing wrong. I'm a new business. Well, Sometimes you have to understand how the system works. And if you understand how the system works, you can manipulate it legally and ethically to your benefit. So can we help every small business look credible on paper in terms of their business credit scores? Absolutely. That's part of what we do with the Access to Capital program. We do that for free. Inadequate personal credit. You and I know no one should have poor personal credit. Credit is fluid. Personal credit has no memory. People that have shitty credit are just making a mistake. There's no reason to have bad credit, right? What we can do is we can fix that, and we have the 60-day credit sweep to address it. But anyway, so we educate them. Talk about collateral. And again, I plead with you. You're like the Mensa student doing tutoring for the special ed kid, right? You've got to dumb it down because you know so much more than the typical entrepreneur. And if you don't break it down into understandable pieces, they won't even know what the problem is. So what you know and I know is that collateral is important for many sources of capital to get funding. But a lot of these small businesses have what's called a collateral shortfall. Oh, does that exclude them? Absolutely not. You and I have a very powerful arrow in our quiver called the Collateral Support Program to resolve that. So again, there's solutions to the problems, and they're kind of intertwined here in the mistakes. But what you and I can do is literally take any small business, even if they just formed yesterday, even if they've not even formed yet, and get them 100,000. How is that possible? Through building a lender compliant loan package, improving financial literacy, and getting them credible enough on paper. Having a business plan, which of course we help them with. We received a grant, and that provides the access to the business plan software that we provide at no cost to them, obviously no cost to you, for every participant. And we help them build out a lender compliant business plan, including 36-month financial projections. We need to have identified uses of funds. I mean, again, it's almost embarrassing to you and I, but to the client, they don't know what they don't know. You'll have clients that come to you and just say, well, I want money. Well, how much do you want? I want that 100,000 that's guaranteed. Okay, great. Let's get you signed up. So then they sign up. Okay, sir, ma'am, for that 100,000, what are your uses of funds? How are you going to use that in your business to be able to prosper, to start to grow? I don't know. Well, how in the world did you just squat down and poop out a number of $100,000, right? I mean, when we borrow money, we want to be prudent, and we need to have good uses of funds. Do we need it to hire more staff, or to put ourselves on payroll, to restructure debt, to buy equipment, to buy real estate? What is it that we need it for? We can't just throw out numbers and say, I want that money. We actually will have to tell the lender what we're going to use it for. And so that's part of what we help them with, is create a good, solid use of funds. The use of funds, of course, also impacts where we'll go for the capital raise, because different types of funding, some have restrictions on how it can be used. Industry experience, we help them build a bio. So can they start out something new that they've not done before? Of course, but we need to know where they're at in that perspective, because that certainly could impact where we go for funding. This one's a really nice one, and it dovetails into our discussion yesterday. So yesterday we talked about the entrepreneurial ecosystem, and I didn't send out the recording yet, not by design. It was just a busy day, so I'll get you today's recording and yesterday's both. But yesterday we talked about the entrepreneurial ecosystem, and so you're really in the middle. Think of a bullseye on a target. You're at the middle. You are the key to helping small businesses access capital to start and grow. You're the most important advisor they could have. And if they don't have you, they should have you. But you're not the only advisor that they should have. They should also have an accountant that helps them with tax guidance, tax return preparation. They should also have a business attorney that helps them with legal related issues. They may want to have a business coach that helps them with ongoing strategy and accountability. they definitely need to have an insurance agent. I was talking to Merrill this morning. He's an insurance agent licensed in multiple states. And so I said, Merrill, would you consider writing some key person policies for us? Because a lot of these small businesses do not have adequate asset protection. A lot of them do not have a key person policy. And he's like, yeah, sure. So he's going to write an extra 2 policies a week, 8 a month. So what's the point in this slide? Small businesses will rarely succeed on their own. There should be this advisory team. Now, I'm not talking about board of directors. I'm just talking about an advisory team around them. And so these are examples. And so what we talked about on yesterday's training is you probably should have on your, I'll date myself, on your Rolodex, on your contact list, you should know some CPAs that you could refer people to. And guess what? Those CPAs could refer clients to you that are needing funding. You should know some business coaches, because some of these clients will need ongoing help with strategy and accountability. And then those business coaches could refer to you. You should know at least one insurance agent that can help small businesses with their asset protection. And then they can also refer to you, right? You see the process, the cycle, the ecosystem. Let's see, I scooped down there. Sorry about that. So here, feasibility data to justify what we're looking for, understanding who our target market is. Historical financial statements, we talk about balance sheets and income statements. We address that in module 3 of our 4-module curriculum. But you would be probably frightened, I think is the best descriptor, of how many small business owners that freaking don't have a clue about financial statements. Well, I mean, if you're running a dog walking business out of your apartment in Manhattan, maybe you don't need financial statements. But if we're trying to put our big boy pants on and go borrow tens or hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, we got to look credible, man. And so we need financial statements. So we, of course, can help clients with that if needed. Going back to insurance, a lot of these small businesses do not have adequate insurance, and that's where insurance agents love being white label partners with us. Inadequate cash contribution. There are some sources of capital, not all, but there are some that look for the borrower to contribute towards the capital raise. In other words, the lender doesn't want to fund 100%. They want to fund part of it. And so if that's the case, we can always layer in a capital raise. So that won't be a barrier, but it's important that they understand. We should be running our business like a business. And this kind of dovetails back. We were talking about using QuickBooks or a similar type of accounting software for financial statements, and not running our business like a hobby. Now, if someone just wants to run a hobby, that's fine. You and I have no place, no justification to tell people how they should run their business. But if they're coming to you and I to get a capital raise, you and I are the experts. We are the technical advisors. We can't be running a business like a hobby and expect to borrow large amounts of money. That's madness. That's inconsistent with reality. So if we want big money, we need to look like a credible business. If we just want to run a hobby, then that's fine, run a hobby. 26 is the toughest of all the topics, because you hate to ever have to have this conversation with a client. And frankly, you wouldn't have to. We would if the client's enrolled. But there's some people that come to us, and what they're looking to accomplish is inconsistent with their current circumstances. The example I give, which is hyperbole, but let's say someone came to you and said, I need $10 billion because I'm going to form a competitor to Tesla. Well, who are we to rain on their parade? They might have the possibility of pulling that off, but we need to look at their current mitigating circumstances. And if they're currently living under a bridge and they haven't established credit and they have no bank account and they have no income, I mean, that's a pretty big gap between where they're at and where they want to be. And so sometimes that gap is so vast, it's like, we might need to look at some interim steps to get there. People don't like that, but as our job as a technical advisor, maybe all that we can help them do is get that first 100,000, which we guarantee. It may be that there's no clear path to get from living under the bridge to getting $10 billion, unfortunately. Mistake 27 is going after the wrong source of capital. And sometimes this is an art, sometimes it's a science of figuring out what is the right type of capital, right source of capital based on the client's mitigating circumstances. And then you're going to have your call to action here. So you'll change this up to be whatever you want to drive them to. If you have your landing page that Scott Stroud has developed, you might drive them to your landing page. But if you're giving this presentation in person, then typically what you want to do is schedule one-on-one consults with them afterwards. All right, so let's open up the remaining time we have to answer your questions about how you can use this curriculum as a community outreach vehicle to create more clients. So first question we have from Samuel, do you charge for this? No, normally you would not charge for this, but I will tell you that there are some hosts. We talked in the beginning about the importance of hosts. There are some hosts that will not host if there's not a fee attached, because they want a commitment of who's coming and they want some revenue share. So if the host requires a nominal fee, you and I are not going to veto that. But in general, this curriculum should be offered for free in person, or could be online and used as a funnel into your access to capital enrollments. Thank you for that. Who else has questions on this? All right, Alfred's asking how long this should take. Well, normally we would set this up for an hour. And what I would encourage you to not do is allow a lot of time at the end for Q&A, because your goal at the end, once you get through the 27 mistakes, you would change this probably and say, okay, come up to the front and schedule with me a one-on-one consult. I wouldn't do a lot of Q&A with the group. And here's the reason. The more questions that you answer in front of the group, the less need or desire or enthusiasm they'll have to schedule one-on-ones with you. And then secondly, often there's an asshole in the group, right? And that asshole will ask some question or be mean or say distracting or discouraging things. You don't want to encourage that. So I would wrap it up. I'd get people scheduled for one-on-ones. I would not do an exhaustive Q&A afterwards. All right, so Quincy asked, so for these workshops, they're normally not designed for us to come out. Could we come out and do this workshop? Yes, we could, and I love doing it, but it's not the norm, because we have the PowerPoint, because we have a recorded version that you can listen to, because it's not really designed for a lot of Q&A for the reasons I just mentioned. Normally you, the white label partner, would go out and conduct this. But if you needed us to do it, we could come up with something, but it's not a real good economic model, because there's no money coming in the door from this, and there's going to be expense to get one of our qualified trainers out to do it. So normally what I would say is, if you're comfortable teaching this, then do it. And if you're not, then you could just simply refer them to the online on-demand version, which is available by the click of the button. All right, thank you, Quincy, for that. All right, so Rosa asked a good question, and it clarifies probably some confusion I caused. So she's asking if the client already has the business formed. Is that a problem? No. I never meant to insinuate that we have to form a new business to help clients go through the access to capital. That's not the case at all. In most cases, the clients have already formed an entity, and now we're moving forward with that. what I meant to say earlier is even if they haven't, they can still enroll and we can take them from ground zero forward. But there are no pre-existing requirements for the access to capital other than the business model, the concept, the services or goods that's going to be offered are legal in nature. So if they're a human trafficking business, excluded. If they're planning on forming a human trafficking business, excluded. And I know that's not a real palatable example. I'm just trying to show you it doesn't have to be formed yet, but if what they do or what they're going to do is illegal, then no. And then it needs to be US based. Other than that, there are no pre-existing conditions. Credit, personal credit doesn't matter. Time in business doesn't matter. Income doesn't matter. Hopefully that better describes it. So there's just two requirements. It has to be legal what they do or what they plan to do, and US based. Those are the only requirements. All right, so who else has questions regarding or feedback? So let's do this. I'd like each of you to just post a quick comment, and it's in the Q&A. It's like a chat box. Do you, and it's okay if you don't, there's no pressure, but do you or don't you plan to start teaching live workshops with this? Because if that's the case, we want to spend more time and energy supporting you for that. If not, then we don't need to, because you already have access to the material and you have had that. But I'm just curious. So Alfred, Andrea, Bernard, Bruce, Collis, Doug, Jamal, Jeanette, Jose. I can't read all the names. We have 321 people. Kat, Jeanette, Lon, Linda with I, Linda with a Y, Mandy, Pauline, Phyllis, Quincy, Rosa, Warren, and others. Just curious, do you plan to go out and start teaching this live? If so, then we'll spend more time supporting you. If not, that's okay. And again, it's already available on demand, right? There's a YouTube version of this that we provide the link to. Actually, every time a client schedules an appointment with us now, the email template says, have you viewed the 27 mistakes? If not, click here, because this is a great resource for those who have not signed up yet. And then also for those that signed up, this is the first thing that we'd like them to do, to be familiar with it. Not some mandatory checklist of, oh, you got to go through this, you better comply with all this or it's not going to work. It's not that, but we want them to be cognizant in being aware of different variables that impact their credibility. Because again, I plead with you, a lot of them don't know what you know. And so they're missing some of these aspects, but they're oblivious to even its relevance, right? Oh, I didn't know that my shitty little personal email made me look not credible to lenders. Well, hell yeah, if you're using Gmail or Yahoo and that's your business email, it's fine to have that as a personal. I have a Gmail, I have a Gmail and Yahoo, but for business, you should have a business email. You don't look credible otherwise. Does it matter if you're doing dog walking? Probably not. Does it matter if you're trying to go borrow tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars? Yeah, you need to look credible. You need to look credible. For those of you, and this is, I think, kind of the point that Jeanette's bringing up, for those of you who are regional vice presidents, this can be a gold mine. Because if you're an RVP, what you're doing is you're looking to attract white label partners. And I was just talking to an insurance agent this morning, which I made reference to earlier. And I said, hey, would you be willing to write at least 8 key person policies a month? And he wasn't only happy, he was nearly orgasmic, right? He was, oh yeah, I'd love to write 8 extra policies. Because what you and I know, for the average insurance agent, writing 8 new big policies a month will probably double their income. So it's not some small incremental benefit. Plus, those insurance agents will be set up as a white label partner under you as an RVP. So you'll get your overrides, but now they're going to make what, right about $12,500 of new income. So they're selling more insurance, which is really their primary goal. Plus they're making an extra $12,500 of additional I guess, unrelated income without really inconveniencing their flow of being an insurance professional. What's my point? If you're an RVP and you're trying to recruit white label partners who are insurance agents, you could say, hey, one of the tools that we have is teaching this financial literacy curriculum. You could share this with them. It's fine. It's no secret. And then if they could see themselves out teaching this, we had one gentleman, actually a doctor, and he would set up these at a Golden Corral, a buffet restaurant in Sherman, Texas. And so he would get the back room of the Golden Corral. He would do invitations for a free session on this. He picked up the tab for the buffet. They had to watch the pitch, watch this presentation, and then everybody could go get their buffet. And then while they're grazing on the buffet, then he would sign them up for one-on-one consults. So there's so many different ways that you can spin this. There's many high net worth financial advisors that have used dinner marketing seminars to make millions of dollars. You could mimic that in a very simplistic way, like that doctor did in Sherman, Texas, if you wanted. All right, any other questions, comments, concerns? We've ran a bit long, which I tend to do, and I apologize. But so again, this is not new. This is a resource that's parked in your white label Dropbox that I just wanted to bring more attention to. And you kind of have probably noticed a theme. This week, recently, we've been trying to bring your attention to some of the specific resources that are already in your Dropbox and maybe some ideas of how to use them. And this is one that if you're inclined to get in front of an audience, to get in front of a room, this is a gold mine. If that's not your comfort zone, that's okay. We're not saying that you need to do that or you should do that. Now, you could build a team. Maybe you're an introvert and the last thing you'd want to do is be in front of a room for 35, 45, 60 minutes teaching this. Maybe that's not what you see yourself, but you're the CEO of your business. Then bring someone in that is comfortable doing that, right? Find a high school teacher that's looking to make some extra income on the side. I know when I was a high school teacher, I was teaching GED classes through the college. I think they paid me a pittance, 26 an hour or something to do that. So I teach a 4-hour class, make $100. You could slide $100 to a teacher. They would moonlight and teach this for you. And you could make thousands and thousands of dollars from the attendees. So what you really always want to remember is you're the CEO of your business. Just because there's something you personally don't want to do doesn't mean that you shouldn't adopt it in your business model. It just means that maybe you want to outsource or delegate that task. All right. Well, with that being said, we will see you back tomorrow morning. Thank you for your time. Have a good day. Bye.